Hello, hi, good to see y'all. Happy Saturday. hello, good to see y'all. Thanks for being here. Shout out to all the mods. I see you all in the chat already. Jasmine, Debbie, 𝗵𝐶, hello. Hi. Let's see, who else is here? Number 7, hello, number 7. MJB, hello, MJB, hello. Hi. No, that's me. It's me, Pantera. Today we're going to be talking about Kim Sullivan. I'm sure y'all have already heard about this case. I'm a little late, but I'm shook. Hey, Eyes Never Lie. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Hello, Augie. Hello. Good to see y'all. Welcome. Hi, my name is Melanie. If you're new here, we cover all things true crime. And like I said, we're going to be covering House of Horrors case today. Kim Sullivan, she held her stepson captive for 20 years. Hello, being bio girl. Good to see you. This case is intense as well, per usual, all the cases we cover. We're going to go over some clips. We're going to go over some pressers. We're going to review some documents, thanks to Plunder. All the documents and the photos came from her. So you will see her watermark on there. I'm not a big fan of the watermark, but hey. We're going to cover photos, evidence photos, and we're going to read documents. We're going to read the case incident reports from the past as well. Kim Sullivan is controversial, to say the least. There was a lot of times in the past years where she made like 911 calls. So we're going to go over all of that. And like I said, we're going to listen to the 911 call first and the body cam footage. It's just a few minutes long. So thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Hey, K-Breeze. Good to see you. Yeah, good to see y'all. All right, let's get started. I'm shook when you guys see these pictures. And before I start, everything here is my opinion only. The facts come from the documents of the case, and all opinions are welcome. So feel free to share. Let's get started. Shout out to you guys for being here too. Let me know if you guys can see and hear everything good. How are the vibes? If I didn't mention, this is from Waterbury, Connecticut, this case.
Come over here. Go down the road. Come on. Come down.
Come on down.
Who else is in the house? Who else is in here?
My stepson is in here.
How many other people?
Listen, that's it. I have 2 cats.
Everybody's out?
Yeah.
But your stepson's still inside?
Yeah, he's right here.
Okay,
yes.
Come out. Come down the road. Come on. It's not safe to stay here. Come on.
All right, here he is. All right, my dog is shaking.
I know. Come down here. That's 287.3 for a victim. Fire victim.
Okay.
Come on.
So if you guys are new, just getting here, this is a case about the mom who held her stepson captive for 20 years, which is horrifying. Hey, MK, good to see you. Yeah, being bio girl, it's like a new thing.
My dog is, I know my dog.
I know, come on.
I'm coming.
You've seen it. Got one victim right here. I need to sit over here.
What we're seeing here is a body cam from this night because basically her son, she's holding him captive in the house and nobody knew, and he starts a fire, and that's what happened here. So that's how he essentially gets out. Yes, it was recent. It's like I think as of 3 weeks ago, I believe the exact date, I think, according to the reports, was the 28th. No, the 17th, February 17th, I believe. Don't knock me if I'm wrong. Don't come for me. Yeah, he was basically tortured. He was like 68 pounds when this happened.
Oh my God. It's 2 Blake Street.
What's the address?
Please hurry. It's 2 Blake Street. There's a fire.
Okay.
Oh my God. There's a fire outside.
Ma'am,
He's a 911 call.
The TV, I don't know. My son, Stepson is in his room, and I don't know. He did something with the TV. I was sleeping. I fell asleep.
See flames or smoke?
Yeah, come on, Steph, come on.
Okay, can you get...
Yes, we need an ambulance, please.
Okay.
Please, we need an ambulance.
Ma'am, all right, you said something's on fire and now you need an ambulance. What's going on there?
Yes, his room, the TV in his room.
Did he get injured? Is he on fire?
Yes, he's injured. Please send the ambulance.
Ma'am, I'm going to send the ambulance. I need to know what's going on and why they're going down there. Where is he injured?
I don't know. He's kind of, I don't know. He's kind of passed out. He's out of it. Please. Oh my God, it's like all the power in the house is out. I don't know if it blew a fuse.
Okay, ma'am, just get out of the house, okay?
Yes, I'm going to call my daughter.
All right.
Oh my God.
That's Kim Sullivan on the screen. Yes, and I agree. Number 7, she is innocent until proven guilty. She still has to go to trial and whatnot, I'm sure. And we're going to watch a few clips from her defense attorney as well. So that was a 911 call. I know, it's wild. 20 years hostage in a house where people were looking for him. Yeah, we're going to see some pictures in a second. We're going to go through the affidavit really quick, just so we get all the facts of the case. This is a case incident report. And it starts, there's a lot of things here. So like, we're going to read some of these reports too. The 2015 police information. These are calls that she made, harassment, suspicious person, 2025. Offense against child, admin assignment. This is all the people that they're... Larceny, 2013, criminal mischief, 2013. We're going to read some of these incident reports. Harassment, 2005. Yeah, I will. Yeah, I do. I got those. I'm glad you guys are familiar with this case. I have been keeping up on it, but I hadn't done a live on it. But now that we have the court paperwork. He's 32 now, 32 years old, 68 pounds when this happened and he was rescued. Welcome, Adrian, welcome. Okay, so this is the affidavit and search and seizure warrant. Dated 2/28/2025. The facts establishing the grounds for issuing a search and seizure warrant are the following. On February 17th, 2025, at approximately 20:42 hours, the Waterbury Police Department received a complaint for an active fire at 2 Blake Street in Waterbury, Connecticut filed by Kimberly Sullivan, date of birth 3/22/1968. Officers Martinez and 𝐁𝐮𝐲 were dispatched to the scene, as well as the Waterbury Fire Department. Upon arrival, the Waterbury Fire Department was already on scene and began working on the active structure fire. Officer 𝐁𝐮𝐲 observed that the fire department made entry into the residence and removed a party, later identified as Redacted, we don't know his name yet, who was immediately brought to AMR ambulance for medical treatment. 𝐁𝐮𝐲 reported that Redacted's stepmother, Kimberly Sullivan, was standing outside and was uninjured. The fire department worked the fire and were able to extinguish the fire, which appeared to be mostly contained to the second floor. Multiple rooms on the second floor had heavy fire, smoke, and water damage from the incident. Other areas of the house sustained smoke and water damage from the incident. 𝐁𝐮𝐲 checked on Redacted in the ambulance where he was being treated for smoke inhalation. Upon viewing Redacted, 𝐁𝐮𝐲 observed that Redacted is extremely emaciated, his hair matted and unkempt, he was very dirty, and his teeth all appeared to be rotten. Redacted was conscious and alert, though he was having difficulty speaking to the smoke inhalation. Redacted reported to 𝐁𝐮𝐲 that he intentionally started the fire in his room on the second floor using a lighter, hand sanitizer, and paper in an effort to alive himself. That's wild. And I apologize if I'm not saying that officer's name right. Redacted reported that he wanted to unalive himself because he wanted freedom, as he had been held captive at the residence since he was approximately 11 years old. That is wild. Redacted specifically mentioned that his stepmother, Kimberly Sullivan, keeps him locked inside his bedroom as there is a lock on the outside of his bedroom door. Redacted was transported to St. Mary's Hospital for treatment before being transferred to Bridgeport Hospital as his condition worsened, and he was listed as being in critical condition. Officer 𝐵𝗒 spoke to Kimberly Sullivan on scene and was asked if Redacted was diagnosed with any mental health problems. Kimberly stated that Redacted is quote unquote slow, but that he doesn't have diagnosed mental disorders or any other ailments. Detective 𝗵𝐵𝗍 was contacted to respond to the fire scene, as he is a police fire investigator for the city. Upon arrival, 𝗵𝐵𝗍 was updated on the scene officers of Redacted condition related to the fire and his general appearance. 𝗵𝐵𝗍 then introduced himself and spoke briefly with Kimberly Sullivan. Kimberly reported to 𝗵𝐵𝗍 that she didn't know what had happened and that she woke up to smoke and went into his room. Kimberly stated that she went into his room and saw a large amount of fire in his doorway. Kimberly stated that Redacted was saying something about a TV and that she was screaming at him to get out of the room. Kimberly stated that she guessed that he ran through the fire because he did end up outside of the room. 𝗵𝐵𝗍 asked if Redacted was diagnosed with any mental conditions, and Kimberly stated that he has a lot of problems but isn't diagnosed with any conditions, as Redacted's father was against using doctors. Kimberly stated that she brought Redacted to a psychiatrist a few times, as Redacted has mentioned hurting himself in the past. 𝗵𝐵𝗍 asked Kimberly if Redacted was locked inside the room, and she stated that his door is not locked and that he has free reign of the house. This was her stepson, by the way, and I believe her husband passed away and he was in a wheelchair. And I question whether she abused him as well, because allegedly, my opinion only, since he was in a wheelchair. And why did she do this, right? What was the point of all of this? Just pure evil. So many times the system lets children on, right. Oh no, yes, 𝐂𝐚𝐬𝐡. Have you heard of this case, 𝐂𝐚𝐬𝐡? That while the fire department were still actively on scene dealing with the fire scene, Fire Department Inspector 𝗵𝐵𝗍 and 𝗵𝐵𝗍 did a cursory walk through the home to ascertain the origin and cause of the fire. Inspector 𝗵𝐵𝗍 located a burn pattern on the ground of a second floor bedroom consistent with the fire being set to the location, as there were various burnt up papers and burnt debris. This location is consistent with the room that was described to be Redacted's room on the second floor. That while fighting the fire, members of the fire department had moved items around the second floor bedroom and removed the door to the room. Pesky observed that there is a slide lock on the outside of the door frame, which could be used to secure a door closed from outside of the room. Furthermore, the removed door from the room has a latch that appears to match up with the location of the slide lock. The fire department deemed the residence to not be habitable and advised Kimberly that the house needed to be boarded up by the insurance company due to excessive damage to the upstairs of fire and smoke and water damage throughout. Kimberly agreed to make the notification and the house was boarded up and secured on 2/18. Detective Pesky reached out to Kimberly Sullivan in an effort to further interview her in relation to the fire and redacted. Kimberly refused to meet with him and stated that she has spoken with an attorney and will not be speaking to police. Wow. When you see the pictures, the condition of this house, I'm dumbfounded. Yeah, his father passed last year. That's who I meant when I said that I wonder if that he was in a wheelchair. And I think they all have mental health issues. Let's continue. That on 2/21, Detective Pesky responded to Bridgeport Hospital, where Redacted was recovering and was able to be interviewed after being upgraded from critical condition. At this point in the investigation, Detective Pesky was aware that Redacted had made statements to officers on the scene of the fire that he intentionally set fire to the house because he has been held up there and not allowed to leave for approximately 20 years. When officers speaking with Redacted in the ambulance, it was clear that he was in a deteriorating physical condition based on his weight and hygiene. Officers noticed his condition and questioned him about it, with Redacted stating that he had not bathed in about a year. Pesky then conducted an audio and video recorded interview with Redacted, who over the course of a 2-hour interview provided details of his life since he was in grade school. Redacted explained to Pesky that since about the age of 10, he has been forced to mainly stay indoors and specifically locked in a bedroom. Redacted stated that over the course of time, there were different locks that kept him in. The most recent lock was a slide type of lock that was on the outside of the bedroom door. Redacted recounted a time when he was younger, when he was locked in the bedroom, but he was able to break through part of the door to unlock it. After that, he stated that both sides of the door were secured with plywood so he could not get through again. Redacted remembered being told that he was untrustworthy because he would steal food. Redacted stated that he was pulled from school in 3rd or 4th grade. He stated living with him in the house with his stepmother, Kimberly Sullivan, his stepsisters, Redacted, and his father, who he did not mention by name. He reported that his father died approximately a year ago. Redacted provided details of how he's confined into this only room and allowed only at times to do chores around the house. Throughout the interview, Redacted recounted times when he actually left the house, and it was far and few between. Redacted remembered a trip to the zoo as a child, a trip to a beach as a child, and a trip to the dump when he was a teenager. Redacted added that there were times when he would be allowed outside to help with snow shoveling, but he was rarely out of the house. Redacted continued by explaining that his only connection to the outside world was looking out of his window and listening to a radio that his stepmother would occasionally allow him to change the stations. Redacted stated that over the course of his life, he was only given a couple new books each year, and he had a few games in his room to keep him occupied. He stated that any kind of education stopped once he was pulled from school. Redacted has never had any friends and was kept in his room where there was an occasional visitor. He was asked why he never attempted to get help, and he was told by his stepmother that he would never see the light of day if he did. Redacted explained that his stepmother controlled everything in the house and every crumb of food. Redacted stated that the only food he was provided was 1 or 2 sandwiches a day, and that the food he was being provided became less and less over time. Redacted told Pesky that he was not allowed to clean his clothes. He stated that he would have to sneak some of his clothes in the wash when he was washing clothes as a chore for his stepmother. On the day of the fire, Redacted explained that he intentionally set the fire because he wanted the fire department to come so he could be helped. Once the fire was significant, he banged on his bedroom door for help. He said that his stepmother yelled to him asking what he wanted and finally opened the locked door. At that point, he remembered being overwhelmed by the smoke. Redacted remembered getting downstairs where his stepmother made him go into the bathroom to clean his face. Redacted stated that he went into the bathroom, cleaned his face with a towel before the firefighters then came in and helped him outside. During the interview, Pesky photographed his physical condition, and it is clear that he is severely emaciated and in horrific physical health and condition. 𝗏𝗃 took photos of Redacted's mouth, and it is obvious that his teeth and mouth are full of decay. Redacted explained that he had not seen a dentist nor a doctor in over 20 years. He stated that when he was sick, his stepmother would only give him aspirin. Redacted added that sometimes when he eats, pieces of his teeth will break off. When asked about the rest of his family, Redacted stated that when his father was alive, he went along with how he was treated, as his stepmother also controlled him. He stated that his two stepsisters are aware of his treatment as well, but they are treated differently than him as they are his stepmother's children, but they don't live in the house anymore. So yes, there was people living in there, and he states that his father knew of this treatment, but now Kim is blaming the father for all of this, saying that he was the one who wanted to abuse him and do all of these horrific things, but that man is no longer here to speak. So I don't know how much I believe of that. She's guilty of abuse. To what extent, I think we'll learn in the near future. Right. It does break my heart too. Telling me you're being guilty without telling me you're being guilty. Right when she calls a lawyer. Hey, 𝗂𝐚𝐬𝐿, good to see you. So cruel. Why not bathe in a year? I had trouble bathing when I had cancer. It was mind-boggling to not be able to bathe. Right, I agree. Yes, please hit that like button. Give your girl a like. Hello, Stubbs. Good to see you. If that's the case, why not do something in the years since he's been gone? Exactly. It's horrific. That's right, being bio girl. Okay, let's continue. Redacted's father was identified as Craig Sullivan, date of birth February 22nd, and he had died on January 25th, 2024. That's his father, Kim Sullivan's husband that passed. Detectives conducted a WPD in-house database check for Redacted and Redacted, which did not reveal any police interactions within the city since April 1st of 2005. Additional law enforcement database inquiries for Redacted did not reveal any results records for Redacted. An NCIC collect check of Redacted. Detectives have been unable to locate any recent school history past 2005 for Redacted. Detectives are currently working with the City of Waterbury Department of Education to access possible achieved education records prior to the time frame Redacted indicated have been taken out of the school system. Furthermore, detectives did open source social media search for accounts associated with Redacted and the family members provided by Redacted. Social media accounts were located, but no photos of mentions of Redacted were observed in any of their content. So he has a stepsister that has been looking for him. And so we're going to watch a clip of that interview as well. And also this was reported to the educational system and the teachers, etc. And there is an interview with the teacher out that's really good. It's like 19 minutes. If you guys have a chance to go watch it. I was going to play it here, but there was complaints about the child, and they made reports about how they had seen how bad his condition was and how he just disappeared from school. Thank you, 𝗂𝐚𝐬𝐿, for gifting. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you, and welcome new members. Welcome to Mellyverse. Yay! Thank you, 𝗂𝐚𝐬𝐿. Did I see Mo pop in here? Or no? Am I seeing things? Okay, I might be seeing things. Thank you, 𝗂𝐚𝐬𝐿. I appreciate you. Also, I've heard so many times that if the kid is taken out of school system for homeschooling, there should still be an annual check. Yes, I definitely agree with that. Again, the system failed. It's so sad. We've seen it in the last, I think, 3 cases that I've covered. Hey, Debbie, good to see you. Okay, let's continue. Based on the observations from the interview conducted of Redacted and discussion these affiants had with Detective 𝗏𝗃, it is clear that there was severe malnourishment. Redacted appears to be 5'8" to 5'10" and appears to weigh 70 to 80 pounds at the most. It is clear there is tremendous muscle loss and muscle deterioration, as well as his bones and joints are visible in numerous locations. The muscles in his face are sunken, and the muscles in his clavicle area are sunken to the point of almost non-existence. Redacted muscle structure appears to be in a contracted state from the malnourishment, specifically in his hands. His legs are bowed, and it appears that he is unable to stand straight. His skin color appears to be graying. His total physical condition resembles someone who would be at a point at the end of their life. You know, I have a lot to say about the sisters who were aware of this, and they don't live there anymore. So sure, maybe at the time of living there, they were afraid of her. Okay, maybe I could understand that, but What about now that they're out of there and they moved out, they left him in there? That's being an accomplice, and I think that they should be held accountable for that if they were aware of what was going on. His biological mom tried finding him, but no social media. Yeah, and his sister did too. We're going to watch part of an interview with his biological mom. I've seen it so many times where the kids just disappear into the darkness. Can people only care when something happens to them? It's so sad. Yeah, this is terrible. These conditions are awful. I mean, wow. Let's move on. Prior to, on 2/27, detectives applied for and were granted a search warrant for the house in Waterbury in an effort to seize items related to the arson of the house. Prior to the search, officer documented the scene with photographs throughout the house, which showed condition of the house prior to the search. We're going to see some of those. Detectives then responded to the bedroom where the fire had started and observed that the bedroom, approximately 9 feet by 7 feet in size, had been mostly cleared out during the fire department's overhaul. The items appear to have been thrown out of the lone window in the room to the ground behind the house. It should be noted that WFD Inspector 𝗟𝗡 took multiple photos during the cursory walk through while WFD was still working the fire scene, and an orange lighter was observed on the floor among the debris in the small upstairs bedroom where the fire started. The room was searched, but the lighter was no longer within the room. During the search, detectives observed the door to the bedroom leaning against a wall just outside of the bedroom. The door frame does have 2 locking mechanisms on the outside of the room that appear to be functional and could be used to secure the bedroom door from the outside, as redacted had described. The door has a metal latch on the door that aligns with the slide lock and a small cutout that aligns with the secondary lock. Furthermore, the door has plywood paneling in each side of it, corroborating redacted statements that he had broken through the door at one point in the past and that it was makeshift repaired to keep him secured within the room. This is terrible. On February 27th, Kurt Sullivan responded to the CIB to speak to detectives about redacted. Kurt is an uncle to redacted and was a brother to Craig Sullivan. Redacted had mentioned Kurt during an interview with Detective 𝗵𝐵 as someone that he remembers coming to the house multiple times every year around Christmas. Redacted believed that he may have last seen Kurt around 2008. Kurt reported that prior to visiting him in the hospital on February 26, 2025, he had not physically seen redacted since approximately 2004 or 2005. Kurt described a strained familial relationship with Craig due to his relationship with Kimberly. Kurt stated that Craig was very mild and meek-mannered and that Kimberly was very controlling towards him and that he allowed it. She's very abusive, it seems like. Obviously, Kurt stated that when he was around the family once a year on Christmas Eve, when they would visit from around 2002-2025, Kurt stated that redacted was really small and skinny, but it was within reason for his age. Kurt added that redacted seemed a little mentally delayed when speaking with him and talked to Kimberly about it, but she reported that she believed redacted had lead poisoning from their old house. Kurt stated that his family lost touch over the years with them as they weren't invited back after 2005 and that he wasn't involved with them for several years. Kurt stated that his brother died in January of 2024 and he attempted to be involved in making arrangements with Kimberly, but she made all the decisions to have him cremated and not have any service against his wishes. At that time, Kurt stated that he attempted to make contact with redacted, but Kimberly wouldn't allow it. Kurt stated that he then came up with the plan to make contact with redacted by making up a story that Craig had left a gift for him prior to his death in an effort to meet with him. Kurt stated that Kimberly asked him to leave the gift on the front steps of the house and would not allow him access to meet with redacted. Kurt stated that although the behavior was concerning, he did not call the police for further investigation. Kurt further reported that approximately 10 years earlier, he looked into hiring a private investigator regarding the matter, but never followed through with it. So I know the stepsister was looking for him and obviously the uncle, but like in the school, I'm just wondering, and did they go search, do like CPS searches? How did this get missed for so long? It's incredibly upsetting that no one does everything until it's too late, right? No, I don't think so, S-Dubs. Have seen people where loving someone literally hurts so much. Yeah, this is crazy. 2 Blake Street in Waterbury, Connecticut is a white 2-story colonial style house with light green shutters and a light green storm door. The front porch area has multiple white pillars, and the third pillar from the left side is labeled the house number 2 in black letters. The house is currently secured by officers. Based on the information contained within these, affiants believe there is probable cause to believe the evidence of the crime of cruelty to persons in violation is located within 2 Blake Street in Waterbury, Connecticut. These affiants respectfully request that a search and seizure warrant be issued for the house in order to search for and collect proof of residency. 2nd floor bedroom fire damaged, door with latch. 2nd floor bedroom fire damaged, door frame, trim including hardware, and soot stained towels from downstairs bathroom. The evidence collected will be submitted as necessary to the Waterbury Forensics Division or Department of Emergency Services for physical examination, scientific testing, forensic analysis, comparison, and reconstruction that will yield information of evidentiary value. That was signed February 28th. A search as part of a continuing investigation would be adversely affected by giving the copy of affidavits of such time. What do you guys think? What do you think about the siblings being in the house? We're going to watch the first presser that when this originally happened, it was about 3 weeks ago. And we're going to also watch the new one. But I wanted to make sure we got the facts of the case from the previous presser because I have not watched this. I have kept up with a little bit of it, but not watched all the content on it. So coulda, woulda, shoulda are just words with no action, right? Okay, let's listen to the original presser from 3 weeks ago.
That there was a room in the house that appeared to have
complicit with the wicked witch.
Exterior portion.
They had to have known, right? I agree.
The male victim who disclosed that he was being held captive in the house for an extended period of time, approximately 20 years. The investigation began from that point. We worked closely with the State's Attorney's Office, Maureen Platt, as well as Assistant State's Attorney Don Thurkelson, because frankly, what was being reported was unfathomable to us at that point in time. Through those investigative meetings and through search warrants, we were able to seize physical evidence and conduct interviews and dig up some more information that corroborated the victim's story. This investigation, as the mayor points out, continues, is very open and very active. We were able to obtain arrest warrants for Kimberly Sullivan. She was arrested yesterday. She was arraigned in Waterbury Superior Court. She's currently being held on a $300,000 bond. At this point, I'll open the.
And I do have to say, if you didn't know, she is out on bond, which it horrifies me.
For any questions.
It's horrifying. I'm shook.
The biological father, we've learned that he recently left the home, and her lawyer is saying that we need to look deeper into his part in all of this. When it comes to the investigation, is he being held accountable at all?
The biological father is deceased and died in January of 2024. Prior to his death, he was wheelchair bound from some medical conditions.
Also, it was reported to the school system that this boy at the time, now 22-year-old man, he was starving, he was asking other kids for lunch. I mean,
Yeah, no house arrest. What the heck?
That this matter was not taken more serious.
She should have at least got that.
So we're doing some background investigation. There are 2 incidents that we had within our
At least house arrest. Dang.
With that address and with the family back in 2005. One was a request from DCF to do a welfare check at the location because children that the victim was familiar with hadn't seen them and they were concerned about them. Officers went to the house. The house was clean. It was lived in. They spoke to the victim at that point in time, and there were no cause for any alarm or any conditions that existed that would have led officers to believe anything other than a normal childhood and a normal family existence was occurring. But that was reported back to DCF, and that was the last that we were involved in that particular investigation. We were called back to the house in the latter part of April by the family who wanted to file a harassment complaint against members of the school district, saying that they were continuously reporting them to DCF and felt that they were trying to get the family in trouble and have the family investigated. We have no further information about.
I don't know how she's out.
There was no proof provided by the family that there was any type of harassment that was occurring.
That's probably why.
As far as the school district's concerned, we are looking at those records now. We're working with DCF to look at records that they may have from previous investigations, and that's part of the ongoing investigation.
But Chief, people were filing complaints, even if it was with DCF, continuously, as the family, I guess, alleged. Was there more contact from DCF, and do you know anything about how that was run?
So the only contact we had was back in April of 2005 when we were notified to conduct that welfare check. And again, we're looking for those records now to determine where that investigation may have gone, but there was no further reported information to the Waterbury Police Department.
So when you had an officer go out there that first time, you're saying everything looked normal, it looked like a normal childhood. But the school district, the principal told us that the child looked really small, malnourished, was drinking from a urinal at school, was taking his food. So, I mean, with all that information, the officer still concluded that the child was safe at that time?
Well, the officer didn't have that information. So this former principal is now disclosing all this information. And I believe in the news clips I've reviewed that he was making calls to DCF and other agencies. Waterbury Police were never notified by this particular principal.
So DCF didn't report?
So this is all information that is coming out now.
Wow.
As this case unfolds.
Police were not aware.
But you have no record of that.
Well, I believe he's wrong if that's what he said, because there is no record of it.
Can you talk about, you said that there was some evidence that corroborates the story of the gentleman. Can you talk any more about what that is, or how do you go about corroborating a story like this that's so extraordinary?
Right. So there's some physical evidence that was seized from the house that does corroborate the fact that that room did have exterior locks on it, and a number of different styles of exterior locks, as was explained during an interview with the victim throughout the years. It appeared that the locks increased in security levels as time progressed, and obviously he became older and maybe a little bit stronger. So that's certainly one component, and then there's other components of the fire investigation that are part of the evidence package as well.
And I'm sorry if you said this, but were these the only two individuals living in that home?
Yes, there were two siblings that were in and out of the home, but they have since moved out.
So St. DCF had all this information, the principal's saying, they don't share any of that with police?
That's what I was wondering right now.
What their protocol is on when they share information with police. DCF does work closely with police departments and provides a lot of information to police departments in a number of different ways. I don't know what their protocol is on when they share that information. So that would be something that they would have to respond to.
Chief, how's the victim doing now? Obviously, some serious conditions. We read about the PTSD.
And of course, they won't respond because.
Share about how the victim's doing.
Right. So obviously, he's got a lot of mental health issues that he has to deal with at this point in time. There are a lot of physical conditions that he's working on as well. I mean, there's an adult that was 5'9" and 68 pounds. There's some apparent orthopedic issues. The room was very small. Honestly, when I read about it and talk to the investigators and overlook the interviews, it was worse than the conditions of a jail cell. So there's a lot of physical therapy that he'll have to go through. There's a lot of healing that he'll have to go through mentally. And, I can tell you this, our investigators, and I'll specifically point out Detective Steve Brownell and Detective 𝗏𝗂𝗋𝗋, who were the lead investigators in this particular case, but all the investigators, the entire Criminal Investigations Bureau has been very supportive of the victim. They took a collection up and bought him some some items to try to make life more comfortable, some clothing and some books and some things to kind of get him along the way as he goes through this process. But, you know, our plan is to continue to support him. He's going to need a lot of support as he travels through this.
I agree, Augie. Augie says, we've seen it happening so many times. Everyone failed him and ended up with having enough. It always ends with tragedy before anyone even notices the horror that someone lived through. I agree. And Tipsy says, here again, if someone noticed something was wrong, would have said something, maybe this could have been prevented. And again, why didn't the Department of Children's Services call the police when they got complaints?
Tries to figure out how to navigate what has occurred and what the future holds for him.
If that's actually true.
People are wondering, like, where are his other relatives? Did no one else see this man for 20 years that they were able to, you know, say anything, report anything to police? Like, was his stepmother the only person in his life? Did he have? You said he had 2 siblings. Where is everyone else? Where are all the relatives?
So the backdrop is being formed, and this is again why the investigation continues. You know, it appears that it was a very controlling situation going on regarding the victim's condition, his whereabouts, his connection with other family members, other people in the community, other friends. Information was very guarded on what was released, and you know,
we're going to see pictures in a second.
Other members of the family and other members of the community, and I think that, you know, I know, you know, from information provided in the interviews that there was a level of fear on retaliation on what would occur if information was released or help was provided to the victim by family members.
Fear.
Were there any injuries as a result of the fire?
They feared
Smoke inhalation.
Kimberly Sullivan, and we're going to see her in court in a second. I'm like, what? He needs to sue in criminal court and those chicks and take that house and make it, well, yeah, that house, when you see the condition of it in the pictures, it's terrible. Cities and counties ought to collaborate with social services to conduct family and welfare checks on the household with minors listed dependents. That's, yes, I agree, Pantera. I can't imagine what he's gone through and now he has to go through because of all the damage done. I know. In your own house.
To the best of my knowledge, I don't know if there's any law.
Yeah, being kidnapped in your own house.
What occurred at the fire, but on scene, he was treated for smoke inhalation.
Could he get out of the house on his own, or did firefighters have to rescue him?
He was.
What fear if they don't live there, right, anymore, and they were in and out?
You know, that's a great question. Not at this time, and I don't really know when, if at all.
Where's the mother?
The mother has not been involved in the victim's life
From the beginning.
pretty much. From all accounts.
We're going to watch an interview with her too. A clip of it.
Yeah, the allegations through her attorney. Has she said anything about how her stepson would be 68 pounds, for example?
Kimberly Sullivan refused to talk to us immediately.
Do you have a picture of the door lock that was taken as evidence?
I can't believe this either.
100% certain that we do. I'd have to confirm
20
with the
years.
state's attorney if we were going to release any information like that at this time.
Does Kimberly Sullivan, have any prior criminal convictions?
No prior criminal.
No, the girls were able to stay in school from what I know.
Neighbors were telling us that
Hi, Holly. Good to see you, love.
No, again, I don't, you know, from what we've put together so far, no, and that's because of a fear of retaliation. I mean, he.
What was she gonna do?
In his room to
Cut the
relieve
girl.
himself, right? Had this elaborate mechanism that he created where he would urinate in a bottle, and he had straws connected to the bottom of the bottle, and he found a hole in the storm window frame that he was able to put these straws through. And he did that because the storm window itself wouldn't open up, and he was fearful that if he broke that storm window or tried to open it up, that there would be some retaliation. So, you know, I'm certainly not a psychologist or psychiatrist, but there's a lot of nuances to people that are victims and held captive. And I think that, you know, there's a lot of work that needs to be done with this particular gentleman in that area to really determine all the impact and all the effects that this long-term condition has really brought on him.
I take it you haven't had a case like this before.
33 years of law enforcement. This is the worst treatment of humanity that I've ever witnessed. Right? I mean, honestly, when we first started talking about it, we really couldn't believe it. It took a lot of convincing amongst ourselves to just really accept what was going on, and it's really hard to talk about still. I mean, it's shuddering to think that someone would treat any person, let alone a family member or someone that was entrusted as a guardian or a parental figure in this way.
Mayor, just can you also share your personal thoughts and reaction, just knowing something so disturbing happened in this community?
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, it's just unfathomable that anyone could treat someone this way. As the chief said, especially within the relationship that they had, it's devastating. And you know, we're going to make sure that the systems are working into the future to see what might have happened 20 years ago when this may have been reported. But at this point, it appears that this was just really an isolated sense and that they were locked in there all by themselves. And through fear and intimidation, she was able to keep it secret all that time.
20 years.
Other children, other families out there. I mean, if there's no protection, you know, and the kids are told to lie about being fed, I mean, what happens? Like, are they going to stay in these situations like he did? Or?
Well, there's limits, I would think, to what you can do. We can send people out to check and look at it. I don't know what it looked like when the officer walked into the house in 2005, what the child looked like. You know, that's 2 decades ago. And so, you know, it's hard. We can send people out. We could do the checks. We could make sure that teachers, you know, and administrators are looking out for children, notice some of the telltale signs. I think we've come a long way as well in 20 years over looking for these things and being able to report them. Requirements of what has to go to DCF have changed over that time. So I think we can continue to do it. But can I tell you that it will never happen again? I don't think anyone can tell you that, because there's a lot of things that go into this that, you know, can help keep it secret.
Where was she arrested at 17?
This is
I can
crazy.
get you that information. I'm not sure exactly where she was arrested in Southington.
Look at her.
You know, and it's important.
And the way she's been showing up to
piggyback
court,
on
I'm like,
Mayor's response
what
to your
in the world?
inquiry. You know, if
Why
you
is she
see
looking
something,
like
say
she's going to the
something. I know
club?
it's a cliche,
Hey,
and
Jules, good to see
we
you.
talk about it all the time. But all the great work that the media and press is doing now.
But if the child didn't go to school, there was no one to
talking
report. Right.
relatives and neighbors and some school district people. I know some have said that they've made calls, but some have said they haven't. Right. So if things are peculiar, it's important to notify the police department. We will certainly look into that information and take the appropriate action. And it may take more than one time, depending on the circumstances.
It may take more than one time.
And we know that
Wow, I feel about that.
and through our work with servicing agencies, the victims of domestic violence, especially, are oftentimes reluctant to come forward. And you know, we encourage people that are victims of domestic violence to find the fortitude to come forward, and we're here to help. We really are.
In this situation, now it seems like, according to the police report, that his life became worse because someone reported it. And after that second DCF visit, another took him to school.
Correct.
Correct. But you still would encourage people that?
I would. I mean, because you're not going to break the cycle any other way. I mean, you know, unfortunately, in this case, it seems as if an 11-year-old was taken extreme advantage of. And at that time, you know, it's very tragic that occurred. But
Wow.
It will never stop, right? And this gentleman suffered for 2 decades because of that. It's easy to Monday morning quarterback, but I think it's really important to never lose hope and to continue to report incidents, especially if you're a victim of neglect.
If you see something, say something. Apparently,
Was he in the room?
DCF doesn't take that
There were some
literally.
reports that he was in the backyard doing chores.
He would be released from the room anywhere from 15 minutes to a couple of hours every day. You know, there was some indication during the interview that
So was she just pure evil and did this, or did she hate him because he wasn't her biological son, or did she not like him because he had a mental condition going on and was just one of those people that abuse someone that are mentally challenged
although
or
his
have
dad
some kind of
didn't do him
disorder?
too many favors when the stepmother wasn't around,
Or is
he
she
stayed out
just
of the room a little bit.
a demon? Yay. Thank you, Debbie, for renewing. Appreciate you.
As to why she would do something like that.
As I said, she refused to speak to us immediately, and you know,
The father was in a wheelchair
she
too, and
reveals
he
more
said
information on
she was
the
controlling with the
reasoning
father.
and the motive on why.
So I wonder what the father experienced.
No, not to really point
Well.
to that, other than, you know, to describe
Cuckoo
the
bash.
agony that he went through and the lack of understanding on why.
Will the sisters face charges at any time?
No, in speaking to the state's attorney's office, we don't believe so at this time. I mean, this is a very open case, very active case. It appears that so far the evidence collected and the information received reveals that Kimberly Sullivan is the sole person responsible, and we're able to charge.
This is the first presser, by the way.
The daughter spoken, the sister spoken at all. I don't recall them.
I'm sorry?
I don't recall the scene where sisters, half-sister names or being interviewed in the warrant. Were there attempts made to reach out to them?
Well, again, we're attempting to talk to everybody in this case, yeah.
But they said no, they're not going to comment.
At this point in time, there's been no statements taken from them.
Yeah, the stepmother saying she doesn't know that she didn't do this, that
Anything
he
else?
had the freedom to do what he wanted to do and she wasn't holding him captive. So that was the first presser from like 3 weeks ago, and I'm gonna play the lawyer from, it's like a 2-minute clip of him after the presser from 3 weeks ago, and then we're gonna watch the new clip from him in a second. Sorry, my screen gets small. This is the defense lawyer.
Yeah, so she completely maintains her innocence. From our perspective, these allegations are not true. They are outlandish. I mean, she was blown away when she heard these allegations. She's adamant they are not true. This did not happen. And we look forward to being able to vindicate her and show that she's done nothing wrong.
Can you speak on, I guess, what your stance is, what she, I guess,
I'm
is
sick.
innocent? Can you just kind of expand on that?
She's never locked him in a room. That is absolutely not true. He was not locked in a room. She did not restrain him in any way. She provided food. She provided shelter. She is blown away by these allegations.
Blown away.
It is shocking. And what's more shocking to me is how someone can be falsely accused of such a thing.
You mentioned her husband passing away recently. Is
Correct.
he potentially someone who was
The biological father? Well, I mean, he was the biological father. He's the one that dictated how his son would be raised. We think as the evidence comes out, you will see
That's bull. The father passed away a year ago. For all that time, he could have dictated how he was being raised and not agreed to have him in that room.
that she's not the villain she's being made out to be. Absolutely not.
You mentioned that the allegations were being corroborated. I mean, how are the allegations really being corroborated?
Well, the allegations seem to be based on the words of one individual and one individual alone. I did not see anything in the warrant to indicate any independent evidence to corroborate these allegations. So we'll see how they stand up at trial. I do anticipate a trial in this case. Given the shocking nature of the allegations, She's adamant. She's done nothing wrong.
Where's the boy now? Where's the
I don't know. But you know, my understanding, he's based on my review of the warrant. There was no other person to corroborate any of the claims that were made, and we'll, at the appropriate time, we'll get into the motivations and the credibility of any witness.
Please get your name on camera.
𝐂𝐚𝐬𝐡𝐀𝐩𝐸. It's 𝐂𝐚𝐬𝐿𝐿𝐸.
𝐂𝐚𝐬𝐡𝐀𝐩𝐸 is his name. Oh, sorry. It's YouTube.
On 3, she desperately searched
Oh,
for
no. Why
years
did
to
it
find.
skip? My bad. Give me a second. Hey, ATS. Good to see you.
Absolutely.
That's annoying that it did that. My bad. YouTube.
Anyway, she provided food.
Hi, Laura. Good to see
She
you.
provided shelter. She is blown away by these allegations. It is shocking.
You mentioned her husband passed away recently.
Correct.
Potentially someone who was
The biological father. Well, I mean,
Or
he was the biological father. He's the one that dictated how his son would be raised.
No, I know we already
As
watched.
the evidence comes out, you will see that she's not the villain she's being made out to be. Absolutely not.
You mentioned that
The father passed away, though. He's not here to talk.
How are the allegations really being brought up?
Well, the allegations seem to be based on the words of one individual and one individual alone. I did not see anything in the warrant to indicate any independent evidence to corroborate these allegations. So we'll see how they stand up at trial. I do anticipate a trial in this case. Given the shocking nature of the allegations. She's adamant. She's done nothing wrong.
Where's the boy now? Where's the
I don't know. But
in the hospital.
My understanding, he's based on my review of the warrant. There was no other person to corroborate any of the claims that were made, and we'll, at the appropriate time, we'll get into the motivations and the credibility of any witness.
Please get your name on camera.
𝐂𝐚𝐬𝐡𝐀𝐩𝐸. It's IOANNIS. That's 𝐂𝐚𝐬𝐿.
I don't know why it keeps doing that on that part.
On 3, she desperately searched for
Whatever.
years
Let's
to
move
find.
on. My bad. I'm sorry, guys. Let's move on. Let's show the pictures. Get ready for this. It's bad. Hold on. Let me pull them up. Okay. Do you see what I see? Blame the person that's here no more. Exactly. You don't know because they don't care. Prolonged isolation is brutal. No social connection, no social skills, deep depression, a lot of mental health issues. It's worse than if she just unalived him. It's torture. Right, Augie? Look at this picture. This is the condition of the house. Right. Right. Let me know if you can see the next one. Oh. Isn't that crazy? I know. Look at the next one. Not getting housekeeping. I know, right? Doesn't it just is so messy? A hoarder, definitely, but I know. I know, Debbie. We're like, it gives me anxiety, these pictures. My PowerPoint is acting up too. Look at that. This is before the fire, and then we're going to see some pictures after the fire. I can't handle a messy house. Looks like something you could see. This, I was shook when I saw these pictures. Look at the ceiling. What the heck? Right? This is wild. Hi, Witch. I imagine they never open the windows for fresh air when I see the pics. Wait till you see her bathroom. I bet it looks better after the fire. Okay. It must smell horrible. I would not want to eat anything there. Look at the bathroom. She's definitely guilty of being nasty. That's for sure. Yeah. Oh my God, I can't. Mold. Oh my gosh, I'm freaking out right now. I can't. I'm like, I'm a hypochondriac, so I'm like, what is going on? I'm literally freaking out. The kitchen. Kim Sullivan. Nasty. Dirty. Oh my gosh. I know. I'm sorry to make your stomachs feel. Look at this one. I'm assuming this was after the fire. Or maybe not. What is going on? It floors me the way some people live. Ew, 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 right. I couldn't even get through all of these. There's a ton of them, but I just picked the ones that I thought were like, they're all shocking, but this is just terrible conditions to live in. My soul hurts watching these pictures. Benadryl for the chat. Yes, Debbie. This is another one of the bedroom. What is on the walls? Can someone tell me? I don't think. What is that? Is that from the fire? But the fire when it was in the bedroom that he was in. What is on the walls? Oh my God. Literally House of Horrors. As Debs, I just felt something. Yeah, no, this is what. I have no words. Is it smoke damage? That's what it looks like. Human skin. Okay, I'm trying to pull up the next pictures for y'all. Ew. Imagine how many houses are like that. When water hits the wall, it streaks them. Oh, from cigarette smoke. Oh, okay. I'm trying to pull up the other pictures, but my computer's acting up. Let's move on. I'll show you guys the rest of them in a second. Let's watch this clip. He did have two sisters, allegedly, that were living in the house. They were in and out, allegedly. But he also had his stepsister who was looking for him, and she couldn't find him. And she did all kinds of things. So let's watch her for a minute while I get these pictures pulled up. She gives like a little bit of an interview.
Well, Kara, Heather tried everything for years, not knowing her
Her name is
half-brother was
Heather.
a prisoner in this home. She started searching for her half-brother when he turned 18. He's now 32. She tried using social media, ancestry sites, court records, but nothing worked.
I have been looking for him for over 10 years.
Heather Tessman was hoping her half-brother had estranged from his tumultuous family, living a full life away from chaos and trouble, maybe even out of state. Instead, it was 20 years of alleged torture, starvation, and imprisonment, just 12 miles from Heather, with his stepmother, Kimberly Sullivan, accused of all the abuse. Heather's claiming her half-brother's father and 2 stepsisters were living in this horror house with Kimberly Sullivan, but they were loved and cared for. When the victim's father, Craig Sullivan, died last year, Heather ramped up her search for her half-brother. Somehow, she says, no one outside the house knew where he was. Just like her initial searches, everything Heather tried failed. Social media, ancestry sites, court records. But then she was told the 68-pound man who set his house on fire after being held captive for 20 years is her half-brother. She wants him to know he's loved and will be cared for when he's out of the hospital. She wants his stepsisters held responsible too. She claims they were complicit, but she's most furious with Kimberly Sullivan.
I think, personally, that she didn't like that he was not her son, and she took it out on him. Her daughters, they got to go to school, they got to have friends, they got to have jobs, they got to have a life. What did he get? A jail cell? For what?
Worse than a jail
Locks on the
cell.
outside of the door? Are you kidding me? You don't treat people like that. There's no way in hell that I believe that they weren't complicit, you know, if not active participants in his torture, because that's straight up what it was.
I agree. Active participant.
Now, Kara, police are still investigating to see if more people need to be charged in this case. We also know that Heather has written her half-brother a letter that she's hoping she can give him while he's recovering in the hospital. But Heather is sharing that letter with us exclusively at 6 o'clock tonight.
I bet his room alone has the condition so bad it has to have passed condemned. Did no one put a missing report on him? Then they would have to look for make sure he's alive. There's lots of questions we need answered too. Okay, I got the pictures back up. There's another picture. What the heck? Yeah, I'm wondering if she didn't call CPS or if she did and it just went unheard, MJB. I wonder that. Yeah, that's all from the fire damage. Yeah, he set the fire to get out of the house, to be saved. There's another one. So the girls got to live actual good lives. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Why didn't they see anything? Why didn't they report their own mom? They were scared, but if they were out of the house, what would, like being Bio Girl said, what would they be scared of if they didn't live there anymore? What was she going to do to them? Let me pull up the next picture. There's a lot of fire damage. Oh, this one's, well, just showing you guys the ones I thought were. Stepmommy dearest, right? It's from the fire damage as well. He set a fire with hand sanitizer. That's wild. What are the stepsisters' ages? I don't have the stepsisters' ages. They must be Let me see if I can find it really quick. I'm not sure, but if they're in and out of the house, they must be older now, right? Still, to not say anything. Can they be as old as him? Yeah, I think they are, or close to it. Thanks, Laura. Sorry, the pictures take a minute to load in this format. I just can't. This gives me anxiety. Let me pull up. I'm going to pull up one of the bathroom. Had me shook. The bathroom. How do you even, I can't. Who wants to use that bathroom? Terrible. I know. Isn't it so nasty? Oh, I know, I know. Okay, let me pull up. Okay, this is so gross. I bring wipes. Yeah, I have hand sanitizer in my bag at all times. No hand sanitizer is good enough for that. Look at this bathroom. What the balls? Like, what is that? I really hope no one was using that bathroom. It's Makeup Forever in Charlotte Tilbury. I'll have to post it. I will post it for you, being bio girl. Yeah, no. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Oh, here's a picture of one of the locks. I know. We're horrified. On the outside of the door, I believe it was, because it's in these evidence photos. I know. I'm going to show you guys a few more, and then we're going to read some docs. You can get all kinds of diseases using bathrooms like that. I can't even imagine. I agree, Laura. I know. Why are all the windows, like, on this next picture with the windows boarded up? I'm like, was that just in his room or all over the house? Because that is crazy. I need some, yeah, we all need some amoxicillin right about now. Hey, Hector, good to see you. Look at these pictures. Mm-mm. No, no. That and tetanus. Here's another one of the bathroom. Those towels, I'm shook. Oh. Are you horrified? Have you ever seen anything like this in your real life other than on YouTube? Like, do you know someone who lives like this? Because no more make it stop. Because if they do, please report that. This is terrible. This, I think there's a little evidence marker. So clearly that must have been his towel. Or maybe he touched it. I don't know. I'm looking at it with what those towels. Ew. No. I know. Everybody showered tonight. Okay, let's look at this from the fire. There's a picture from the fire. Pantera. This was bad. Look at this. Oh my gosh. I wonder what his intellectual capacity is. Is he stunted at 11? Yeah, I think he is. I think he's going to have to learn how to do everything. Sadly, like a newborn baby. No, he hasn't been able to learn. Look at this. After the fire, but still the mess. Ugh. Yeah, he had to start a fire so that he could be rescued. How terrible is that? Basically almost unalive himself. He was trying to unalive himself, is what he said. In the affidavit we read at the beginning. That's probably where the door was. Definitely stunted, yeah. Oh yeah. And the girls, the other daughters that lived in the house were still able to go to school and he wasn't. I know. It's bad. Oh. You guys can't see that picture, huh? Picture of the lock. Ruby Frankie, hey? Oh, this one I thought was interesting. I'm like, what is that? Is that blood on the walls or what is that? I'll have you guys look. I missed the affidavit reading. Yeah, I read it at the beginning, which. Just saying that smoke I can smell from being inside of fires. What is that blood on the walls? I'm like, what is that? Oh, I can't. And then this is lovely, lovely Kim. You ready to see her? The eyeliner, though. Your future girlfriend? Question mark. She is terrible if she did this. She is innocent until proven guilty. I know, I know, I know. Who else is responsible? That's her. I want to read some older reports. They're pretty short, but these are just reports from when she's called 911 or to report something, etc. Let's read some of them. Okay, so this one is from 2007 incident report. The complainant is Kimberly Sullivan. And we're just going to read basically what happens. Dispatched to 2 Blake Street for a suspicious white male hiding in the rear yard complaint. The complainant, Kim Sullivan, stated that when she returned home this morning, she saw a large male in her backyard that she did not recognize. and upon entering her rear yard, the same male ran from the property, which caused her concern to call the police. Upon the officer's arrival, this officer located the male complainant described, and he was identified as Michael Andrews. Michael Andrews was brought back to the residence of the complainant, and Ms. Sullivan stated that she knew him and he is living with her mom on Altair Street, but she does not know why he ran away from her and caused this disturbance. Michael stated that he came over to Kim's house to speak with her, but when he realized that he scared her by standing in the rear yard, he fled to avoid an argument. Ms. Sullivan then stated she did not wish to press charges and wishes to withdraw her complaint. I advised her that this report would be filed, but at the same time, no further investigation would be completed. She looks just how her house looks, one huge mess. 𝐂𝐸ITG, right. Right. These are just little reports from back in the day, that short ones, not little, I should say. Yeah. Okay, this one is from 2013, larceny. Who's complaining, making the complaint? Kimberly Sullivan. This one says, on November 6, 2013, I received a complaint of larceny. I spoke to the complainant, Kimberly Sullivan, who approached me while on routine patrol. Sullivan stated on Thursday, October 24th, that she ordered a black Sony camcorder with a SIM card for $285 from Fingerhut, and it was delivered to her home located at 2 Blake Street and left on her porch on Wednesday, October 30th. According to package tracking, Sullivan stated she left her house for only 20 minutes, arriving at 15-20 hours, and did not find her package. Sullivan stated that she did not see the incident occur and does not suspect anyone to be involved. Sullivan was unable to provide a model or serial number for the camcorder, and I told her if she was able to provide this information to follow up with the detective to report the incident, and that will be made with a copy forwarded to the detective. I know. It's like Radio Shack. Radio Shack was my shiz back in the day. This next one is a call summary report. 2020. October 31st, 2020. Female caller complaint with questions. States CPR is in progress. Party was choking on chips. No further police assistance needed. So someone in her home was choking on chips on October 31st, 2020. And I wonder if that was the boy she had holding hostage. No, I think it's like a mail order thing. Oh, it's not an actual story. Right. Hey, Dodge, good to see you. Okay, this next incident report is from, these are pretty short. I just thought we'd go over them to see get a little look into the background. From April 1st, 2005. Lake Street. Object of attack, male, white. Details of offense. So this is when the school made a report. So bear with me as we try to read through this. The writing is, On April 1st, 2005, this unit was dispatched to check the condition of redacted of 2 Blake Street of DCF received a telephone call from the school children, unidentified, who used to go to school with redacted, that told redacted that something must have happened to him, that he may have died because he has been out of school for so long. Redacted is aware that redacted is now homeschooled by his mother, Kimberly Sullivan. I spoke to Kimberly, who said this is the second time she has been bothered by DCF and police to check the condition of her children. I spoke to redacted and he appeared to be healthy and happy. The residence appeared normal and lived in. I advised Sullivan and redacted this report would be written and kept on file at headquarters. So this must have been when she recently took him out of school. The house was lived in. Definitely did not, the pictures don't, obviously it wasn't that bad then because he didn't see it. That's what I'm trying to say. His friends cared more about him. I know. And the teachers, how sad. This next report is from the 18th of 2005. 2005. Complainant's name is Craig. So this was his dad. On 4/18/2005, while working TRU, I spoke to Craig Sullivan of 2 Blake Street in regards to a harassment complaint. Mr. Sullivan stated that he believes he's been being harassed by school principal of Barnard, Tom. He believes Tom placed several calls to different agencies attempting to have his family investigated. He has no proof or evidence proving Mr. Sullivan is responsible. So the dad was saying the school was harassing him. So then maybe it's true. Maybe the father, RIP, did have something to do with it. And he's not here to say anything. Here he's calling the police on the principal. Wow. I hadn't read these, so I just started reading them with you guys. I'm shook. I used to be a property manager now. Wouldn't DCS say something about the mess? Exactly. 20 years ago, crazy. If you're homeschooled, you do not have to go somewhere to sign up for school every year, right? Do you not have to go to school? I thought you did. DCS would need to be contacted, but a complaint would need to be filed first. That was a complaint, right? And then why is the dad calling the police on the principal? Hiding something, eh? Here's another call. Summary report. I'm shook. It's totally possible the dad could have been into it. So this is from suspicious person, November 16th, 2007. They called to Blake Street because, oh, this is a male ran through her yard and is behind her garage. So it must have been the earlier report that we read. I'm terrified. Oh, this one's interesting. She thought people were trying to break into her car. I'm like, what is going on? She keeps making all these calls. They have documents from schooling. Didn't they check? I don't know. There's something going on here. Suspicious persons, December 10th, 2013. She called because she said she requested officers to speak. There's 2 males, 1 Hispanic, dark coat, one African-American male with a hat, ball on top, walking towards Sunnyside Avenue. Complainant stated that these 2 males attempted to break in her car but did not get in. She requested officers to speak to parties. Complainant refused. Kim Sullivan. Someone was trying to break into her car. I don't call the police. I wonder what that neighborhood was like. Okay, this is one from 2016. I mean, it could only been 2 things, right? Either the dad knew about it or maybe he was also scared or he was also involved. I agree. This incident report is from March 26, 2016. On March 26 at 19:32 hours, was dispatched for a harassment complaint. Upon arrival, I spoke to the complainant, Ray Kwan. she stated Raekwon Dawkins stated his ex-girlfriend, identified as Jamie Sullivan, and her mother, identified as Kimberly Sullivan, have been harassing and stalking him for the last 2 days. So that's one of the daughter's name that lived in the house. Raekwon, or Raekwon was dating Sullivan's, oh, it doesn't say her name. Yeah, it does. Jamie Sullivan. Jamie Sullivan was dated Raekwon, and they were harassed, and her mom, harassing and stalking him for the last 2 days. Jamie Sullivan is one of the ones, I believe, in the house. Dawkins stated that he and Jamie both worked in the Brass Mill Mall at one point, and Jamie complained to mall security that he was bothering her. This caused Dawkins to be banned from the mall and forced him to lose his job. Dawkins stated that he did nothing to Jamie and was banned without his knowledge. Dawkins stated that he was at the mall today on 3/26 around 4:30 p.m. when Kimberly and Jamie drove by him and started yelling at him to leave, saying, "You can't be here." Dawkins stated security then came up to him and told him he had to leave the mall because the Sullivans made a complaint against him. Dawkins stated that the security guard said Kimberly called him multiple times to call the police and have him kicked out of the mall. Dawkins stated he broke up with Jamie over a year ago and he doesn't know why she and her mother were making these false claims against him. Dawkins stated he wanted this incident recorded so that if he continues, he can file for a restraining order. I informed him that he does not have to not have any contact with Kimberly or Jamie and to save any harassing communication from either of them. I informed this incident would be made on file with the police department. And these are all from the police department. Well, damn, Jamie has some explaining to do. So stuff has been going on for a while. And apparently Kim Sullivan be acting up with her daughter. So I wanted to read this. It gives you a little background on who these people are. This is another one from October 22nd, 2018. And on this day, on October 22nd, 2018, an officer was called to be a domestic complaint at the House of Horrors. Upon my arrival, I spoke with the complainant homeowner, Kimberly Sullivan, who stated that she dialed 911 by accident because she was previously having a verbal disagreement with her husband, later ID'd as Craig Sullivan. Kimberly stated they were having a disagreement about their marriage and relationship while they were in the car together. Kimberly stated that at no time did the disagreement become physical and there was no signs of physical violence. Kimberly stated she wanted to cancel calling the police because her husband had already left for work. Kimberly stated that Craig does not have a vehicle and does not have a cell phone, so she was unsure of where he may be walking to work. I did not observe any physical signs of violence while on scene, and Kimberly assured me that she was okay and did not need any police assistance. I then ran both parties through 𝗟𝐸IC Collect, redacted and redacted. I then canvassed the immediate area of Sunnyside Avenue, Lake Street, Chambers Street, Wilson Street in an attempt to make contact with Craig, but was unsuccessful. I then advised all parties involved that a report would be on file regarding this incident. How does no one actually hear about this at all? I agree. All kinds of calls to that house. Okay, here's another one from 2020. Dang. This is July 14th, 2020. This was dispatched for a harassment complaint. I spoke with, again, Kimberly Sullivan via phone call. Sullivan stated that she called police because her mother's ex-boyfriend had been stalking her. Sullivan explained that redacted, that whole part is redacted. So she applied for and was granted an ex parte restraining order where she is a protected person and Andrews is a respondent. Sullivan explained that the restraining order was served today. Since the restraining order was served this morning, Sullivan stated that Andrews had violated it today during an incident. Sullivan explained that approximately 12:30 hours today, she was driving in the area of 1249 Main Street when she passed by Andrews, who was driving the opposite way. Sullivan stated that she and Andrews made eye contact, which caused him to perform a U-turn and follow behind her. Sullivan further stated that Andrews followed her all the way home, in which he subsequently left thereafter. Sullivan then contacted police. An NCIC collect check showed redacted. Such order was ratified today, 7/14/2020, and expires 7/21. Such order denied Andrews from having any kind of contact with Sullivan, to stay away from her home, workplace, and to remain 100 yards away from her at all times, to not stalk, threaten, or harass her. I then made several attempts in contacting the Judicial Marshal office on 56 Center Street, but was unable to speak with the marshal to verify if Andrews had a restraining order against him served. I then made failed call attempts with Andrews via phone call, redacted. I left a voicemail informing him that he is a respondent in a restraining order where Sullivan is a protected party and the stipulations need to be followed. I then had dispatch contact Plymouth Police to send a unit to make contact with Andrews. Plymouth Officer Latimer made contact with Andrews. Andrews told him that he was not served his restraining order today by a judicial marshal and was only made aware of its existence through my voicemail. Andrew told Officer Latimer that he did see and pass by Sullivan today, but denied any allegations of following her. Andrews stated that he ignored her and went on his own way. Andrews was then made aware again of the stipulations in the restraining order made against him. Sullivan was then informed of Andrews' denial of stalking allegations. Sullivan was given a copy of the case number and was informed that a report would be on file. Sullivan was advised to contact police pending future issues with Andrews and that any violation in such restraining order will be enforced. At the time of this report, all evidence was inconclusive in regards to proving Andrews' culpability of violating the order. Sullivan was advised to further pursue the case with detectives. She got all kinds of issues with the people in her family, eh? Looks to me like everyone just ignored it, like so many people often do. Not my business, and everyone around him just failed. Right. If your family members are doing things like this, I know it's not your business. Still report it. I wonder how many calls are after he was pulled out of school, like potentially how many times he could have been saved, right? Or a court-appointed official or social worker. Let's read one more. I have like two more of those short calls. This one's from 2024, 9/1/2024. And this is for a medical assist. Upon arrival, officers spoke with Jamie Marie Sullivan, who stated that she was okay but had a mini panic attack because of a verbal argument she had with brother-in-law. She stated that her brother-in-law told her she could not come over to see her sister, and that when she got upset. Jamie stated she is not on any medications for any health issues. I did not observe Jamie to have any visible injury while speaking with her. Jamie stated she was fine and refused medical attention. Jamie was advised to avoid going back to her sister's residence to prevent any further incident. Jamie did not want to provide her brother-in-law name or sister's information. I attempted multiple times to make contact with complainant Kimberly Sullivan via cell phone to obtain the brother-in-law and sister's name, but was unsuccessful. NCIC collect check showed redacted. So Kimberly called the cops on Jamie on this day in 2024. For a mini panic attack. It seems like there was other things going on. That's wild. Yeah, if you see something, say something. All right, being by a girl. I always say that. Well, in this trial, they're all going to have to testify, right? Jamie, the boy who was saved. This is from February 17th. Okay, so we're good. We got to the complainant, Kimberly Sullivan. On February 17th, Officer, we kind of read through this already in the affidavit, dispatched for a possible structure fire with injuries. Dispatched advised that the reporting party, identified as Kimberly Sullivan, called reporting her home was on fire, and her stepside, identified as redacted, was possibly still inside the residence. Upon arrival, Waterbury Fire Department was on scene. I observed a confirmed structure fire at 2 Blake Street from what appeared to be on the 2nd floor. WFD was able to make an entry and successfully locate redacted. WFD then immediately transferred redacted to the ambulance, who began immediate emergency care. Kimberly advised she was uninjured. At the time I spoke with Kimberly, who advised her stepson was still inside, I advised Kimberly that redacted was taken out of the residence by WFD personnel. Kimberly was then removed from the scene. I then went to the ambulance to check on redacted's condition. He was alert, conscious, and speaking to medical personnel. It was at the time the AMR paramedic advised redacted wanted to speak with me in regards to this incident. At this time, I sat next to redacted, who said he lit the fire. He then advised he used hand sanitizer and a piece of paper to light the fire so he could unalive himself. Then advised his stepmother, Kimberly, had kept him locked in the room since he was 11 years old. Redacted stated he attempted to unalive himself because he wanted freedom. Redacted also advised he had not showered in about a year. It should be noted, redacted appeared to be extremely emaciated. Redacted ribs could be seen along with his spine. He was also covered in what appeared to be dirt. At this time, redacted was transported to St. Mary's Hospital for treatment. While at St. Mary's Hospital, redacted condition declined and is currently in critical condition. While on scene, officers spoke to Kimberly, who advised that he was slow but did not have any diagnosed mental disorders. They were able to contain the fire, which was successfully extinguished. Due to redacted stating that he set the fire, detectives were notified of the incident and responded on scene. This just happened 3 weeks ago, Jules. This one that we're reading now. The previous one was from older. But yeah, this just happened 3 weeks ago. And then this is just the arrest report. I'll share it. It's not really much, but you guys can see it still. Family violence, yes. Arrest profile. And she's being charged with kidnapping, 2nd degree, unlawful restraint, 1st degree, unintentional cruelty to persons, reckless endangerment, 1st degree, and assault, 1st degree. She's out on $300,000 bail, which I think is ridiculous. What do you guys think about that? Should she be out walking amongst society? Okay, we're gonna watch the new presser. And then we're gonna watch a short clip of the attorney. And this was just like a few days ago. This is not a presser, it was just when she's back in court.
Good morning, Your Honor. Good morning. Please have a seat, no cell phones on, walking away, no talking.
Before we begin, any objections to the media?
No, Your Honor, not from the state.
Madam Kimberly Sullivan, 2 on the Part A regular docket.
Good morning, Your Honor. 𝐿 𝐶 on behalf of Ms. Sullivan. She is present and approaching.
This was, let me see, 8 days ago. So the first one we saw in the first part of the video was from 3 weeks ago, and now this is her back in court.
The state's
Look at her.
motions to modify the defendant's conditions of release. We are in receipt of the motions from the defendant in response. I would like to point out for the record that Connecticut Practice Book Section 3813, 3814, and Connecticut General Statutes 5469 and 5469B, and the relevant case law from those statutes gives this court the authority to modify conditions of release at any time. I disagree with the defense. There has to be a change in circumstances, and the court always has authority. The state is renewing its request for EMS monitoring and house arrest and in the alternate GPS monitoring. State's also requesting that the defendant, if she has a passport, it be surrendered. The state still submits to the court this defendant is a substantial risk of flight. she faces the rest of her life or a significant period of the rest of her life incarcerated if she's convicted of these charges. That makes it a significant incentive to flee this jurisdiction and to not appear in court. If it's coming to court, face the charges, and if she's convicted, face the rest of your life in jail or flee, I think it's a pretty simple alternative, an equation would permit her to flee. This is a strong case for the state. The court has read the arrest warrant. But
She does need to be locked up. I agree.
Since the media coverage of this case, several additional witnesses have come forward. For example, a friend of the defendants of 21 years has come forward and provided a written statement to the state, to the police, that in the 21 years she's known this defendant, she's never spoken of a stepson. She was shocked to learn she had a stepson, and that friend was never allowed in this house. Additionally, I'd like to point out to the court, it's a domestic violence case with a domestic violence victim. The GPS monitoring or EMS house arrest is often imposed for far less serious crimes in domestic violence matters and other matters. Since the arraignment, the state has had an opportunity to meet with this victim. This victim is afraid. This victim lives in fear. I introduced myself to the victim, explained who I was. His first question in this fear is, why is she out walking around when I was locked up in a room for 20 years?
Wow, I didn't know that.
On TV and social media, so he is aware of what's happening. And I say that because it would lead to his fear. Based on all that, the state is asking for those conditions.
Your Honor, I respectfully and vigorously object to the state's motion. I believe it is improper, and I believe if it was to be granted, it would be unjust and a violation of my client's state and federal constitutional rights. This is the third time we are back addressing the same issues. Bond has been set. Conditions of release have been addressed by the court. The state made essentially the same arguments on prior occasions, which were considered by the court and rejected by the court. We are back now, 2 weeks later, giving the state another bite at the apple. And the court was clear on March 13th, when the court rejected the conditions that are being sought. The judge at the time made clear she was rejecting those conditions and made clear that we would keep this on a short leash, basically, come back in 2 weeks or whatever, and if there were any violations, she would reconsider. A defendant must be able to rely on the representations and the orders of the court. And when a defendant is told, you will be released under these conditions, and if you abide by these conditions, you'll be fine. The only thing that has changed is now we have a 2-week track record of compliance. That is the only change that I have seen. That is the only documentation that has been provided to me or that I've been able to see so far is a report from bail indicating a track record of compliance. So the only thing that has changed in the eyes of the defense with respect to the case is that my client has been complying with the conditions and has done what has been asked of her. Despite the fact that she's complied with the conditions, we're now back seeking to add additional conditions. And I understand that the whole world wants to convict Ms. Sullivan, and the whole world already has. But this is the only place, the only room in this country where we have an opportunity to protect her rights. And as unpopular as that may seem, that's what's at issue here. Her rights, no one else's. When we talk about the constitutional rights in criminal law, they're to protect the accused, regardless of how unpopular it may be. So, Your Honor, I think it would be, respectfully, Your Honor, I think it would be a mistake to add conditions at this time. And I filed a supplemental memorandum. And although it's my supplemental memorandum, I think to some extent it is the strongest argument and one the court should be the most concerned about. And that is protecting my client's right to a fair trial. She is presumed innocent. Maybe not to the rest of the world, but this is the one place where that presumption should remain. And by adding conditions, the court is sending a message that she has done something wrong, or the court feels that she has done something wrong, or the court feels that something has changed to increase the conditions of release,
So he just had himself locked. He just put himself in that room this whole time.
increase her monitoring, when none of that has occurred. So by granting the state's motion, a message is sent to the world that the presumption of innocence means nothing. And that cannot happen, Your Honor. And the presumption of innocence is tied to bail. I cited the Troconis case.
I can't believe she's out on bail.
Supreme Court case, which talks about the importance and how the presumption of innocence ties into bail. The whole world is watching. And if we add additional conditions now, we are sending a message that she has done something wrong, or that the court believes she has done something wrong. I, as her attorney, stand by her. She is presumed innocent, as unpopular as that may be. Now, getting back to my original arguments in this, Your Honor, the court on Wednesday referenced the 𝐼EITG case. And I looked at the 𝐼EITG case, and this is distinguishable. Yes, the court has the inherent authority to set conditions and modify conditions. Just because the court has the authority doesn't mean that it should exercise that authority. And I'd asked the court not to exercise that authority. In 𝐼EITG and in all the other cases where there's been a review of a court adding conditions or revoking bond or impacting bail, there has always been something to trigger it, some violation of condition of release, some concern that the defendant will not be able to appear in court or is a danger to anyone else. She has appeared in court despite the difficulty in getting here. There are serious safety concerns for her.
Wow.
Putting her in a specific area where she cannot leave will only create additional safety concerns.
She probably bailed herself out. She probably had money from her husband or
There are
something.
numerous threats
Something like
against
that.
her. Numerous people have made threats. They're posting them online, talking about not waiting to be able to see her out in public. She needs to be able to have freedom of movement. And at
People were
times,
threatening her.
Your Honor, I've actually advised her to leave the state initially, given the media attention, for her own safety. If the court was to put her on a GPS
Her
monitoring bracelet,
safety?
she would not be able to do that. If the court put her on an EMS, she would not be able to leave the residence where she is. That would create additional safety concerns. Getting back to the law here, though, Your Honor, I think the 𝐼EITG case is clear that there needs to be, I think it calls for some type of violation. Whether you call it a change of circumstance or not, that's something that had been used, an argument that has always been raised in our state courts here, and I believe it is an appropriate consideration, Your Honor. Your Honor, my motion also details her ties to the community, all the things that the court's already considered in setting the appropriate bond here, Your Honor. Everything has been considered by the court, it's been evaluated, and there is nothing different. I understand there's a lot of public pressure, and the public sentiment may be that there should be more conditions on her. But the bond that's set is appropriate. The conditions that are set are appropriate. She's abiding by those conditions. The state has argued this before. It has been rejected. There is absolutely nothing new other than a positive track record. Your Honor, respectfully, I cannot understate how strongly I feel about this. I do not believe any change in the conditions of her release would be appropriate right now. I believe they would have a direct and significant impact on her right to a fair trial. And I believe it is a dangerous message for the court to send, and it is one that will impact and bear directly on the presumption of innocence, which is something that is crucial in this case because nobody has afforded her that. And we look to the court to protect that. Your Honor, respectfully, I ask the court deny the state's motion.
All right, we're here today on the state's motion to add conditions of release. Specifically,
either EMS house arrest and or GPS monitoring in order to reasonably ensure that A, she appears in court, and B, to protect the safety of the public.
Correct.
In making this decision, I'm instructed by General Statute 54-64A, subsection B2, to consider the following factors when considering any conditions. I'll just go through them one at a time. First, the nature and circumstances of this offense and the seriousness of the charges against her. There are 2 B felonies. One of them carries mandatory minimum jail time. There are other felony charges against her in addition to that, misdemeanor charges. And the allegations are arguably the most troubling that I've seen during my tenure as a judge, and show really an unthinkable amount of a lack of empathy. And I do stress that they are just allegations at this time. 2, her past record
Just
of
allegations
abuse,
at
she
this
has no
time.
prior cases, no prior failures to appear in this case. Her family and community ties to the area. She has 2 daughters in the area, and I believe she is temporarily living with them, but she has no permanent address. We learned that since the last court date. As far as her employment record, to my knowledge, she has worked for the majority of her life, most recently at JCPenney. As far as her financial resources,
JCPenney?
her mental health condition.
Didn't
I'm
they
not aware of
close
her financial
JCPenney down years ago?
time, but since the last court date, it has come to my attention that she was admitted to the hospital to address certain mental health conditions. As far as the weight of the evidence, we haven't pre-tried the case. There hasn't been any discovery. I don't know how strong the case is for the state at this time, but since the last court date, according to Attorney 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲, he has spoken with the complainant more, learned additional information about the case, and additional witnesses have come forward. So from the state's perspective, it has gotten stronger. Whether she has been previously convicted of similar crimes, again, she has no record, so she hasn't.
Wow.
The likelihood that she would commit another crime if she is released.
Oh, is it still around?
She has been.
Thanks, the bio girl.
As far as the GPS and the EMS. On the one hand, she has no record. So you could easily argue that if she has no record to date, she is unlikely to commit any crimes while she's released. On the other hand, I can see the argument that someone who could show, again, just according to the allegations.
Mervyn. Oh my God,
someone that
Mervyn.
could show such an extreme indifference to human life, such a lack of empathy, if that person could commit that type of crime, they're certainly likely to commit another type of crime. So in considering all of these factors, most specifically, the serious nature of the allegations and her additional mental health conditions, the mental health conditions in particular, since we learned from the last court date, as well as the fact that we've learned that she has no permanent residence at this time, I think putting GPS monitoring on her is appropriate to protect the public and to ensure that she comes to court. However, I am denying the state's request for EMS house arrest. I don't believe, given the factors I consider, that that is.
What?
As far as the next court date or any additional issues,
Your Honor, may we enter a not guilty plea and make a jury election today?
yes, noted for the record.
With respect to a next date, Your Honor, is April 29th acceptable?
Steve would ask for a shorter date.
What date in particular?
I would like 3 weeks, 1 to monitor compliance, 2 to update the court on the discovery process.
You want to say April 15th,
I'm away that week, Your Honor.
22nd?
Yep. That's the date I believe they get.
I have a conflict that day, Your Honor. Can we do the 21st? Actually. Actually, Your Honor, we'll make the 22nd work. I can juggle that.
And I'll leave you with this. I agree with your attorney. These are just allegations. You are not guilty. You have the presumption of innocence. You will get a fair trial. The reason I put GPS monitoring on you has nothing to do with you being guilty. It shouldn't be interpreted that way. We get discovery, the state will dig in April 22nd. And we'll recess for the next.
So the next court date is April 22nd. They're all just allegations as of right now. That is just, so what do they think happened to him? Let's watch it's a 4-minute clip. This is her attorney right after.
Hey, I'm assuming you folks have some questions.
So on Wednesday, you said these are just allegations. Your client hasn't done anything wrong. And you don't have to explain anything that's happened here. If that's the case, if she hasn't done anything, why not explain? You don't have to.
Can't hear it put on.
Because we don't have to. Because the way this works, the state has to prove those allegations. They're just allegations on paper. They're just, there's no need for us to do that. As much as everyone doesn't like the idea, there is still a presumption of innocence. And that presumption of innocence has been eroded out here, and I'm trying to protect it in there. I know everyone wants to crucify her, everyone's already convicted her, but that's not how this works, and it's not how it's going to work. And the burden is not going to shift to the defense. The burden rests on the state. They got to prove these allegations in court, and we're a long way from that. And I recognize that that's an unpopular sentiment.
Yeah, I agree. Yes, Stubbs.
That's what it is.
Because how can?
There's nothing that we care to expand upon. There's really nothing of significance.
What do you have to say about the new witness who claims that Kimberly didn't acknowledge her steps, didn't even mention his stepson? Oh, 20 years
Is some random witness that wants to come forward and make these allegations. It means nothing. There's going to be plenty of people that are going to come out of the word work and have all these horrible things to say about my client. We'll see what's actually admissible in court and what stands up in court under cross-examination.
Can you talk about citing the Draconis statute, which deals with these conditions that happen pre-trial? Why was that?
He does.
So what I was referencing a case. There was a decision in the Draconis case, and in that case, the judge, there was some case law there where it tied in the right to bail and the presumption of innocence. In the written documents we filed 2 memorandums objecting to what the state and what the court did today, what the state sought to do and the court allowed them to do. And
yeah, at least neglect. I mean, I don't know that trial.
My client's rights and how they could be violated and harmed by the decisions that are being made. And one of the arguments we made is if the court was to impose these sanctions, which we believe were not justified, that it could impact my client's right to a fair trial and bear upon the presumption of innocence. I'd be more than happy to share our pleadings with you. The cases are detailed there. We think we made very strong arguments. We think we made appropriate arguments, and we'll consider whether we will appeal any decisions that are made.
Last question.
Will you be able to get a fair trial? You know, I know in other cases they've tried to move to other jurisdictions, feeling like the current jurisdiction that they're in, they can't have it. I feel like that's impossible.
I feel like I might be one of the few people that's really fighting to make sure she has a fair trial. It is crucially important that she has a fair trial. It is crucially important that we protect the presumption of innocence. It is crucially important that we not rush to judgment. And, you know, the popular sentiment is to convict her. But what people need to understand is if we're willing to trample on Kimberly Sullivan's rights, but then other people's rights are also going to be trampled on. Our constitutional rights need to be protected in that courtroom. And that is what we intend to do. And we intend to defend her and represent her to the best of our abilities. And despite the public sentiment, despite the rush to judgment, we're not going to sit for that. We're going to do everything we can to defend this woman. She is presumed innocent, and in the eyes of the law, she is innocent unless until, if ever, a jury determines otherwise. Thank you very much.
So my theory is, thanks for being here, Stubbs. So Stubbs was right. She could possibly walk or maybe get neglect, but because how they're going to have to prove, right, that she did all of that, and he could testify. the stepson, but also if the daughters that were living there come in as witnesses and they defend her and they say that she didn't do it, I mean, that's going to be an intense trial. We're going to watch one more clip. This is Vinny. He interviews the attorney. And where did she get money for an attorney like this? I'm curious. Vinny investigates, Vinny Politan investigates on that episode. This episode, he interviews the lawyer.
I really do appreciate it. I know you're a busy guy, and you came down to the studio in New York tonight, so we appreciate that. So let's talk about the defense. What is the defense going to be about in this case?
Well, good evening, Vinny, and thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. So everyone's asking what the defense is going to be in this case, and to some extent, it's premature to get into specifics and details about everything that we are going to allege or what we're going to present.
Yeah, I used to mod for Vinny.
At trial. We're still getting the discovery in this case. We're still sorting through exactly all the details about the allegation and finding out more about the state's case. What I can tell you is my client denies having done anything wrong. The defense will be that this didn't happen. The details will come out, but our defense is that she did not commit this offense.
So, and I appreciate it. I'm an attorney too, and I know your obligations in representing someone and how that works. So, what role will the father, the biological father of this 32-year-old man, play in the defense? And how much do you suspect the jury will find out about the father? And how much do you know about his role in everything that transpired over the course of decades, is what the allegations are?
So we are going to get into that. We are still sifting through a lot of that information. What I can tell you is that the father is the one that dictated how his son would be raised. This was not my client's biological son.
The father's not here. How is that right?
Did not make the determination as to schooling, being pulled out of school.
Testify.
A lot has been put on her, and that is simply not the case. We anticipate the evidence that will come out at trial will show that he is the one that made the decisions for his son.
Was she at all concerned about the health of this 32-year-old? And just going from the arrest affidavit, right? Hasn't been cross-examined, I understand. But the appearance, just the physical appearance of a 32-year-old man being 68 pounds, teeth are all rotted out, the hair is matted, all of that. Did she have any concern about his health, his well-being?
I believe she did. But one thing I want to point out, he's 32 years old. She could not control whether he took care of himself properly or not. He was 32 years old. What I can tell you is she denies ever restraining him. She denies ever locking him in a room. She denies ever depriving him of any of these opportunities.
Do we know, and obviously your client lived in the house the whole time, I presume, right? With the father, her husband. At any point during the course of his life, not in the last year since the father passed away, but when the father was still in the house, did he restrain his son? Did he deprive his son of food? Because another one of the allegations was that this child, when he was a child, 2 decades ago, he was always hungry.
My understanding is there was always food in the house. There was no restrictions on the ability to get food in the house. And I know you're asked about earlier, but what I can tell you, when the police went in that home, there was food in the cupboards, there was food in the refrigerator. My understanding is he had access to this.
And let's talk about the victim in the case, the 32-year-old, or the alleged victim, obviously, as to your client. I would still say he's a victim of his father as a child, being pulled out of school and then not educated. What are your... Is he not telling the truth? Do you believe that he is making allegations that are false, like he himself, not the prosecutor, but statements that he's making to investigators and to police are factually inaccurate about what was taking place in the last year?
Well, look, I don't want to come on here and bash this individual, but what I can tell you, based on the discovery I have seen, the interviews I have watched, there will be significant credibility issues. This case ultimately is going to come down to credibility. There is no independent smoking gun. There's no video. There's no admissions. It will be one person's word against another's, potentially.
Yep.
And what was the nature of their relationship after the father passed away? How would you describe this stepmother child, who's an adult, obviously, but what was their relationship like? Because they're living in the same house.
I don't have specifics as to their relationship. Nothing that has been indicated to me indicates that it was a hostile relationship in any way. They both lived in the home. I'm unaware of any significant problems between them while in the home.
Okay, Ioannis is going to stay with us.
And now we're going to watch his bio mom. She comes in on this interview as well. Are you shook? Yeah, just look at the picture in the house, right? He was stealing food in school. He was hungry. How can someone hold someone captive for 20 years? Only insane people do that. Want to show you getting your information from her. Right, right. This is the bio mom of her stepson.
I know when his father and myself were together, he was not a bad guy. I don't know if he was vindictful that we had split up. I don't know. I'm still trying to grasp all this, and it's really, really, really hard. I thought the safest place he would be was with a parent, with his father. And that didn't happen.
And if you are struggling, right, and then you know that he may be able to take care of your son, that was the right choice to make. That's the choice. That's the selfless choice that a mother makes who wants the best for their child.
So. You would think so. He was kept with monsters.
That's 𝗟𝐶𝐵H Valorant. Now, she's the biological mother, but she was never in her child's life. She was never there. Like, she was not a part of what was happening. He was being raised by his father and I guess his stepmother, which brings us to the next question in our investigation. And it's about 𝗟𝐶𝐵H. Why was his biological mother not in his life?
Good question.
Was she being kept away from him? Still with us, the attorney representing the stepmother, Kimberly Sullivan. Ioannis Koulaitis is still with us. Ioannis, was she purposely kept away, do you know, by her ex, by the father, by the stepmom?
So, not to my knowledge. It's my understanding. And first off, you know, my heart goes out to her. I think any parent would feel for her, and I understand the whirlwind of emotions that she may be going through as a parent. That having been said, she's never met my client. I don't believe she's ever attempted to communicate with my client. I don't believe she's ever attempted to contact my client. She's, by her own words, has never met my client, but has gone so far as to call her a monster. And that is concerning. As we are trying to ensure my client gets a fair trial, we see a lot of people that are surfacing now, people that have not been in his life, that are quick to rush to judgment and say horrible things about my client. So we do intend on pushing back. So I am sympathetic to her situation. but I don't know what she adds to this case, what evidentiary value she has.
I do wonder where people thought he was this whole time. Like he just died or he went away, he lived in another state. Like where did people think he was?
So
nobody.
Yeah, as far as your question as to why she might not be in his life, I think she's alluded to that herself. I don't have more details. She's alluded to having issues many years ago. I'll let other people get to the bottom of that.
Sure. And what I was wondering from your perspective, if your client had mentioned anything about purposely keeping her out, or if there was a concerted effort by the father to ensure that the mother never had a role in her son's life. But that does not necessarily seem to be the case from your perspective. Let me ask you about the house itself. Who owns the house? Does your client own the house? Does the stepson own the house?
I believe she owns the home.
Okay. And the lock, there's been a lot of talk about a lock being on the outside of the door of his bedroom. Is that something that you concede, or is that a misinterpretation of what the setup was in the house?
So what you're showing there is just one of the many pictures that were released by the Waterbury Police Department. These pictures were released without context in the middle of a pending case, and we believe they're extremely prejudicial because it's unclear what locks were where. What I can tell you is a number of the interior doors had exterior locks. Those locks, we believe, were in the home prior to my client ever moving in. They were not installed by my client. And there were locks on almost all the exterior doors in the home. So we disagree with the premise that he was ever locked in that room or that any of those exterior locks were even used.
Was he able to walk?
Yes.
Did he have do we know if he had a driver's license or?
I don't believe so.
Did he have access to money? Did he work? Did he, I don't know if he worked remotely or if he did anything or had an allowance, an inheritance? Do we know any of that?
I don't know the details of that. But as far as the home was provided by my client. There was food in the home. There was water. He had access to everything within the home.
Why was he urinating in a bottle then?
Did he ever see a doctor over the course of a couple of decades?
I don't have specifics. Based on what he has told police, he did not go to the doctor. But any decision about him going to any doctors, those are decisions that the father made.
The father.
And was there any, he's a 32-year-old man living in her home. You're saying it's her home, in her home at that point. Was there ever any discussions about, okay, well, you know, maybe you have to, you know, find your own place, or maybe you have to get a job, or were there any conversations like that inside the home?
I don't know the specifics about that. And as far as employment and stuff like that, I have spoken to my client. My understanding is she didn't prevent him from showering, didn't prevent him from eating, encouraged both is actually my understanding.
And did your client work? Was she home all the time? Does she work? And I'm just wondering, because I'm wondering if there are times when he's home alone or was home alone.
Oh, absolutely. She worked a retail position about 30 minutes away from her home. She worked that position for years. He was home alone quite often, not restrained in any way.
And were there phones inside the home? Like the old-fashioned phones? I don't know if he had a cell phone, but like old-fashioned phones. And then did he have a cell phone?
Old-fashioned.
I don't believe he had a cell phone, but I believe he did indicate to police that there was a landline at one point in that home.
All right. I asked, because we have you on here, I just want to open up. Is there anything else that you want people to know that I haven't asked you about?
Absolutely, absolutely. The main reason why I came on here tonight is because there has been such a rush to judgment. Almost all the coverage I have seen, respectfully, assumes that this actually occurred. I have yet to hear anyone objectively question any of the allegations. When you look at the pictures, I would ask, look and ask yourself what's not in those pictures. What evidence of restraint do we have? We have exterior locks on all the outside doors. There's no chains, there's no bars, there's no handcuffs, there's no physical marks showing he's been restrained. There's not even an allegation of physical violence to restrain him. There's been a rush to judgment, and I know the whole world thinks she's guilty, and the whole world thinks that we should lynch her without a trial, and that she shouldn't even have a defense. And I'm here to push back on that. This case is far from done. It is far from over, and we intend to fight this. We intend to fight this, and I'd ask people, don't rush to judgment, because when you see the evidence, it's going to paint a different picture. And what I've told people, there's a long road from allegations in a warrant to provable facts. And you know that as a prosecutor. And this case is going to come down to credibility, and there's a lot to be done between now and the time of trial. But we're confident in our case. Ms. Sullivan has been clear to me that she has done nothing wrong. She has come to me and asked for help, and we intend to defend her. And we're going to push forward. And we're pushing back on the notion that she's guilty and we should just forego a trial. We're looking forward to a trial.
Ioannis?
Well, you just heard him. Yes, if I lock my son in the house for 30 years, can you please get him to psychological control? Right. I don't believe the specifics. Okay. I agree, but he's saying he wants to make sure he gets a fair trial. I do believe she does deserve a fair trial, and she is innocent until proven guilty, but that speaks a lot for itself. Did he lock himself in there? What do you guys think? Was she involved? What about the daughters? What about everyone around him that didn't question it, went looking for him? I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot, right? But yeah, he was 68 pounds when he was found. But the defense attorney is doing what he's hired to do, so kudos on that. But anyways, we will stay caught up on this case. Thank you guys for being there or here. He's practically, yeah, emaciated. Yeah, they said he was in terrible condition. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Right, Laura? I know. Make sure you guys hit the like button on your way out. We will continue to follow this. Her next court date is April 22nd. So we'll see what happens then. I will see you guys on the next live here shortly in a little bit. Thank you for being here. Make sure you hit the like button, and shout out to Plunder for the content and the documents. Stay safe, everyone. I don't think he was mentally, let alone physically, able to defend himself since childhood. I agree with that. I agree. I agree. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you for being here. Bye.